Hello and welcome to another Mythruna live stream. Glad you guys could join. Oh, in before it was cool. Ron is definitely in before it was cool. So this week we'll be going over we'll be doing some more clothing stuff. Actually, just before the stream got clothing selection and saving and loading and stuff working, so now we need to work on the visuals. Before we get started, let me thank the patrons. Teamwork makes the dream work, etc. You guys rock. Keep doing what you do. All right, without too much further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to check to make sure the live stream is doing its thing here, and I'll pull up this useless dashboard. I feel like it's better than nothing, but maybe not. All right, so you can see I've got like lots of stuff up in the background because I was looking at how things are working and comparing things. I think I even have, so the normal map stuff. Okay, so let me show you what I got. I tried to start making some default clothes. I looked at the time I was gonna have it automatically export the am I coming through okay on sound? I've got my microphone kind of down. Trying to avoid blowing into the mic. So before it was really nice because I just had to run the game and already it popped up the editor, but now I've got to actually go into the world because it needs the world in order to pull up the existing things, and I thought I might be able to quickly rig up something so that I could do that even with the selector and stuff, but I don't think so. So we're just going to have to deal with it. I looked at the time, I'm like, nah, 10 minutes isn't enough. Alright, so if we go in here, we go to clothing, you can see I've got some already clothing that I can select because I wanted to be able to dress Fade right away so that she doesn't show up naked. Yeah, I'm not monetized, but I could just see YouTube demonetize me because Fade is naked. Let me just double check the volume levels. They seem in the yellow. Okay, I mean I could put this up a little bit, but I worry about blowing into it. Alright, anyway. So you can select clothing and edit it just like in the blueprint editor, and you can see she's got a bra. We go back here and we've got some panties. Man, this is a little choppier when we won't see that anyway. It's a little choppier when I got the live stream running. Oh yeah, once again I'll remind everybody that the link I cut a release at the beginning of the month, and the link is up here in the upper left corner if you want to grab it. That's the one with caves and initial towns and stuff. Yeah, I know. It's I could move the microphone closer to my face, but then a lot of pop, 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 they come through, and so I try to avoid that. But at least I guess it's no worse than normal. So, all right. So yeah, up in the upper left, there's the link, and if you hand type it in and go there, there's also a Discord that you can join and say hi to other Mythrunians. It's a good bunch of folks right now. Anyway, so this is set up. You can create some clothing. I've got, like I said, I've got the underwear and the bra. So she's got bra and panties that we can dress her in some minimal stuff. But see, like in the blueprint editor, we get little pictures here of the stuff, and I want that here as well. The thing is, right, I don't want to show the whole body just for a bra, for example, or panties. So I want to be able to detect, well, first of all, that's what we'll do, right? Just to get something implemented. But what I really want to do is analyze the what does the clothing as a big grid, basically. If we look at, I think I still have this grid up, if it's going to come up. Yeah, so like if we look at Fade's old clothing, the one that you walk around with right now, this is the grid that's got all of her swatches in, well, the color for the swatches anyway. And so, you know, so if I knew that this area had stuff in it, then I know that I've got to show the pants, and I've got to show the shoes, etc. And so I want to kind of create sort of a matrix that identifies these cells with parts of the body, such that I would know if in that smaller view, if I have to show this or this or, you know, this, right? And then, you know, with transparency and stuff, it would be better than trying to show the whole body. Anyway, I'm rambling for stuff that we might not even get to today, but that's what I want to do eventually for this and for inventory. And I mean, it's kind of necessary for even the in-game inventory stuff, although eventually, like I have the mannequin here, I will also create like a folded up version so that you could have, like, in your inventory it would look like a folded up shirt or folded up pants. We'll see how that goes, but that's for another time. At any rate, so the next thing is, because it's a step along the way to getting, you know what, it's actually not a step. I was going to say it's a step along the way to getting it to view on Fade herself, on the avatar, but that's not true because it's no better than any of this. So we can actually just skip that for now and potentially start working on, you know, the user interface where it's kind of a temporary user interface where we can select the clothing and add it to Fade. And so, like, we maybe have a picture of Fade here and a list of the clothing she's wearing and a list of the clothing options. But before we do that, let me go and really quickly let me show you how the editor works. So this will be kind of a mini demo as we'll make some new clothing. So let's make a basic shirt. Basic shirt. And so if you would create this in game, you know, it would be called shirt by default. Yeah, so let's make it a, whoops. Yeah, so anyway, see what kind of fabric do we want to use. Let's use a weave because then we can make it different colors, and we'll use something different than the green that we always use because we want to see something different. And we'll make this a, you know, sort of a bigger shirt. But what happens here is, like, if I'm just placing swatches down, you know, they have no hard edges, but at some point you're going to want like a hard edge, and eventually this might be more automatic. Of course, I did it in a way you can't really see. Let's say I had a bunch here, and I'm right clicking. Like, if you in the game you place blocks, it's the same to place swatches here. Right click places a swatch, left click removes it. You know, Control Z is undo, or you can hit the undo button and the redo button. That works too. So if I set like 2 of these hard edges and I put this here, you'll see that it's got, you know, a normal mapped edge on it, and this is layered on top of the other. If I left click on it, you know, it'll go away. Yeah, another thing is I got to work on the specular because everything's really shiny right now. So anyway, what I did here was I added a top edge to this because what I want is to come back with some of these angles, which now you get like this cool preview of the angle, which is something even the prototype didn't have. And so we can come here and we can give some of the definition of the shirt. Man, my nose just will not stop itching. All right. But actually I think maybe I want a slightly wider neck. So let's do, I don't want to get too in the weeds here. But let's, so maybe a short sleeve shirt just to save time. And we'll take it all the way down to here though, so we'll do a bottom edge. And if you guys have any questions about how this works, if you're actually on, it says I have 2 people on. If you have any questions about how this works, let me know. I'm trying really hard to get this done to cut a release probably Labor Day on the 4th, because I'm taking a 4-day weekend in order to work on this. But I hope to have the basics done. So that's the other thing, is some of this is a little inefficient. The more I click, the slower it's going to get because it's re-rendering all this stuff. That's another thing that'll be fixed before the release, sort of a quality of life improvements, like also having a flashing cursor where you're about to select or where you're about to click, like the block editor does. Anyway, let's really quickly, not as quickly as I might like. So if you guys are playing Baldur's Gate 3, how's that going for you? I still see all the news, and I do my best to not get sucked in, but it's really hard. I don't think it's out on consoles yet, right? Like, I don't think I can get it on the PS4 or PS5. Because that might be the killer draw. Anyway, I might leave the back off of this shirt just because it's taking a long time to click all of these. Eventually they'll be you'll be able to copy a prefab shirt template and modify it. Oh, cool. Well, I mean, cool or not, depending on how you look at it. Okay, so this will be kind of like a tank top, I guess. Oh, Final Fantasy VII. Yeah. The thing is, like, again, I'm a D&D player from way back, so. Alright, so I think what I want here is an edge, maybe. I may have wanted to put a hard edge on this from the beginning. But let's see if this is too wide for what I want. Actually, we want left. So let's take that down. So the problem is going to be, I'm okay. I think I'm okay with this. So we need another full one. No. Yeah. I think I'm going to just do the simpler way. Bottom left. Do this. We'll get rid of these. We'll make it kind of like a tank top. That's simpler. So we'll... Hey, Codewalker, how's it going? So we want an edge. We want the left to the left. And we'll come back here and we'll do this. So I'm going to make a quick shirt for... Oh, you know, that's not what I wanted. The whole point of removing those blocks was to replace them with ones with the... I got distracted. Okay. So I want the angles to line up here. Okay, so she's got that. Let's replace these over here with... Oh no, that's already right. That was already right. I need another one. Okay. So, you know, normally you do this stuff by yourself and you don't have an audience and you get to take your time. And it doesn't have to be perfect, so really I shouldn't be wasting so much time on it. Okay, that one does not need the edge because we're going to do an angle. Bottom right. Man, my nose will not stop itching. Okay. So now we can do the full square for a while. And like I said, I think I'm going to leave the back open. This will be enough to get the point across. And so we got the top edge is a hard edge. Now it's not a hard edge. That's the other thing is, I don't know if you notice, if you can see as I select these, it gives it that edge. You know, so if I give this, you can see that edge here. So it shows you what the swatch will look like when you place it down, which I think is a big improvement over the prototype for any of you who used that. And I think if we were to continue this, we would do one more. Alright, now see, I'm in the mode at the moment. So I want to kind of finish it. Anyway, you can see the editor's working okay. It's not even as slow as I expected it to be. Okay, so that's probably good enough for this. Because I can fill in these sides. So we've got a shirt that's not finished, but it's good enough for now. It'll get the point across, so we'll go ahead and save that. Now we've got a basic shirt to go with all of our other stuff. Okay, so what we want to do is eventually there'll be like a character menu here where you can, you know, the things that you want to wear, beyond just the inventory management of the backpack, right? You could put stuff on different parts of your body. You know, say where this is a backpack, so it can really only go in one place, but maybe you have like bags that you can hang from your belt, and you can, you know, put those on your body and stuff. Sorry, taking a sip of my beverage. But for now, so we'll implement kind of like the precursor. Most of these are just precursors to the real thing. Above here, or right in here, I think we'll add a initial character menu that'll bring up sort of a view similar to this, only it'll be actually fade. And, you know, eventually it'll have like some stuff off to the side and, you know, standard inventory stuff, maybe the hit points on your different parts of your body and stuff like that, so you can see where you're wounded and, you know, all that garbage. But for now, it'll be something like this, and off to the side will be a list of the clothing you have available and the list of clothing that you're wearing, where you can adjust the order so that, you know, the shirt could be on top of the bra instead of the bra on top of the shirt, stuff like that. So that's what we'll do next. And, you know, I said as soon as I had like a third one of these that I really should refactor, and crap. Discard changes. Yeah, so things get weird. There we go. There's a state problem when you've got the editor open. That actually was true before. Like if you edit a blueprint and then try to select the map, you know, it leaves that open. That's something I'll have to fix. So anyway, let's get started. I think it may be different enough that I don't need to refactor that into a base class, because I actually want to do, like when you're editing blueprints and editing clothing, you know, it's got this piece of paper down here, and I think I actually want to pull in a little bit of the actual terrain. So I'm not sure how much of this I really want to borrow, but definitely a lot of it's going to be the same. But let's see how far we can get. There's a little bit of design work to be done as well. The entity component system, I can have multiple items that point to the player, like as they are wearing that. But there's nothing in the way the entity component system works. Oops, wrong button. There we go. So I think in one of these previous, it's got to reconnect or something, right? In one of these, come on, there we go. I think, man, this is, okay, there it is. That's why. It was, now connections restored. Why are you so slow? Anyway, the point is, like, an entity has a bunch of components attached to it, and they are not in any particular order. And so adding an order, yeah, man, it really does not want to slide. Oh, I see, I'm using the wrong key. Maybe I didn't have that here. Okay, so maybe that was in a different whiteboard. I've been trying to just keep using the same one over and over again. But like, you know, you've got the entity and you've got a bunch of components attached to it. You know, like this is the sword I'm carrying. This this is the backpack that's attached to me, and so on and so forth. And so I can have, you know, multiple items of clothing, the underwear, the pants, the shirt, and they'll all be attached there, but there's nothing to say, you know, the underwear goes first and the pants go second and so on. So we might have to build that into whatever component and then, you know, sort appropriately. But let's get the UI started first. And we can actually, except for we're going to want to load the actual avatar. Yeah, so much of this is different than the regular clothing editor. First of all, we don't have a selector to start with. So let's see. We're going to make a new UI because this will eventually be a full up character editor area thing. And let's call it character menu state for lack of a better word. This is private Mythruna stuff, not public stuff. Mythruna client UI character. Yeah, so my editor filled in this stuff for me. But what we want to do is steal this and what I will do is a trick I learned from the other, which is if and then the other thing I learned was if you take this and like you know, set your enabled state like that. Wait, did I do true or false here? False. So by default, we're disabled. And so boolean enabled. What this allows me to do is hook it directly up to the main menu, so I get like faster turnaround on trying things out. Okay, so then in the player menu, we want to make sure to add this in order. Oh, how do these decide? Somehow inventory goes first. So this is the normal path, and we need to import that. Okay, so that's the basic hookups. It won't actually show anything, but maybe let's hack in. What the hell is the model called? So we've got human female rig. So human female rig. Okay, so let's load a model and plop it down. Just to get something in there. So we're going to load that model. Is it human female? Oops. Human female. Okay. And then we created our own root node. Yep, we're going to want one of those too. Well, we're going to need to import that stuff then. Oops, scene. That's one thing I do like about the editing in an IDE versus, you know, the raw format I do here, is that the automatic imports, because I find imports to be the most annoying part of this. Anyway, so we do that, and let's do root node attach child test. Oops. And then there's a standard kind of on enabled, on disabled. Do it often enough to probably need a base class. Yeah, so not the GUI node. Perspective GUI state, this is the one. So by default, JMonkey Engine has a 2D viewport for a GUI. And the way JMonkey Engine does a 2D UI, it flattens the Z, so you get no Z buffer at all. So if you were to try to render a model like this, it might render okay, or this arm might render on top of this because this is all one object. And so these the triangles that are behind her boob here might get rendered on top of the boob. And normally a Z buffer, you know, sorts that out. But for some reason JME squashes Z, and so it's all 0. And so it just depends on what order it was drawn. And anyway, so you really can't put 3D objects in it. Whereas I've got this perspective GUI state, which works just like a regular GUI, except for it has not just being able to display 3D objects, but 3D objects with perspective and stuff, which is why we can do objects in the menus and things. Anyway, so we'll use that because we kind of want this in the perspective GUI. There's probably some scaling that's going to mess up. So when we're enabled, we'll do that. When we're disabled, we'll do that. I don't think there's anything else to do. I believe the menu state here will make sure everybody else is disabled, so I don't know. Let's try it. I'm sure there's compiler errors because, you know, typing without a safety net. Yeah, so perspective GUI state is not where I think it is. And maybe it's something I get from SIO2. I can find out. Nope, just regular client. Okay. So probably we're going to want all of these things eventually. So let's go ahead and import them now. And then we'll have it. Yeah, searching the whole directory tree is bad because I've got entire Mythruna worlds in here, and so it's going to search down all the Mythruna worlds. Ah, look at that, it's compiling. Yeah, this week has been crazy. It's the first week back for my kids at school, and my wife has some bandages on her legs that need to be replaced every night, and so on and so forth. And so I haven't had any time to work on Mythruna this week since last weekend. And I really wanted to have all of these GUIs sort of fleshed out so that we could work on the fun parts. And unfortunately, that did not happen. So then I would already had this set up, and we could work on the, oh, I selected the clothes. Now what happens to the entity? And then, oh, now there's clothes, and we know what order they are. So we got character. Yeah, so inventory character. And we do that. And nothing happens. Or something happened, and we just don't see it. Map. Character. Well, I don't actually longy thing, and there's going to be, I don't position it either, so probably I'm missing some other things. So let's see what this guy does with his root node. He attaches some things to it, attaches the background, and attaches that. Doesn't actually move it or anything. So I guess we expect, because I'm pretty sure the perspective GUI state is set up so that 0 is in the middle of the screen, because it tends to be more useful for the kind of stuff you'd put in a perspective GUI. But we have to do a little Kilroy debugging and make sure it's even running this code. So let us log okay, so we attached it. And then once we've attached it, once we've done that, let's log info world bound test get world bound. It's another trick for figuring out where whatever it was ended up. Actually, you know what? Here, we can be quicker than this because I'm still set up into test mode. So we can bypass the normal menu and stuff and just do character menu state, take out the main menu, and now we should see our thing right away without having to go through all the click, click, click. Okay, loaded a scene. Yep, loaded that. The bound is super tiny. Super, super, super duper tiny. So it might be there in front of us, and we just don't know. What else can I do? Let me think. Let me see what we're putting in our... I mean, I could add menus and things. We would see those for sure. Okay, so we add a platform. We don't move it. And we attach the design area, which is where we actually show things. And does design area set a scale? Sorry, I'm trailing off as I try to figure this out. Yeah, it sets a big scale. Okay, so let's try that. Alrighty, so let's just see what happens. Excuse me. Nope. Our bounds changed, did they? Yeah, because they were like 0.0001 before. They're still teeny tiny. Oh, I did not just do that. I closed my window, my command line window. Alright, well, guess what? We'll just steal this one, because I just won't use it. Okay, yeah, I clicked the wrong X. Okay, so let's try 1,000 and see if we see anything. I hate it when I get caught up for like 5 minutes on these little things like this. She's there. Wow. when she's big, you can kind of see her feet through her shoes there. Okay, so she is there. That means she's probably maybe up here somewhere or down here. She could be. So let us... Okay, so let us do 500, and then we'll move her 100 to the right and see what happens. I really thought the perspective GUI was centered around 0 at the center of the screen. Or 0, 0 was center screen. I guess not. Alright, come on. Okay, so she's there. Yeah. She's messed up somehow. I think some of that, oh, yeah, that's one thing I gotta remember. When I get to that point, the UV maps for her arms are upside down. So part of this is where she is and the perspective, because the way the perspective GUI state works and how big she is. You know, she's kind of at a bent angle, so we did move her over. How did the clothing editor get everything centered? We centered the design area, but that centers it around its own 0, 0. We don't, well, maybe we do in update rotation. Do we move the platform? Yes. Set local translation center Y, center X. Okay, so let's look at how we find center. We probably don't need to zoom in the character menu. Okay, so what do we do with center? Center. Yep, okay, so I was completely wrong about, oops. I was completely wrong about the perspective GUI state being 0, 0 based. It's just that I automatically, in my other thing, offset to the center. So set local translation. Yeah, so this center won't actually do anything if I'm going to change it anyway. Center.x, center.y. Did I do 0? Where was update rotation? Oh, zoom, which starts at 0, so yeah. I think that works. Okay. There she is. Okay, so that is one issue. Her hand is inside out, probably because she's playing some funky animation. Yeah, that's interesting. That's funny. I'm guessing it started playing the swing animation. But for the real one, I'll actually set up an animation driver, or I might actually just pull in her real model and clone it. I mean, eventually it won't be the hard-coded Mythruna. It'll be, or Mythruna girl, it will be whatever avatar you happen to have. But maybe do this, and then instead of this, do move. I just want her to be centered on the screen, but I suspect the center of her model is not the center of gravity. But we'll see. Nope. Okay, so first of all, I think for now we'll just hard code some of this. Center.y, y goes up. And it's just, I'm going to hard code some things for a moment. Sorry, future Paul. Oh, what the heck? Oh, Okay, so she was 500 before. This is where it'd be nice to have the scripts hooked up so I could just edit this live. So what did I do? What have I changed? Oh, that I changed. So that should be back exactly the way it was, right? No. And she's weird colored now. What did I do? Oh. She's turned inside out, that's why, because I'm screwing up the scaling. Anyway. Okay. So we should be able to go back to like 300, because she's too big before. And minus 200 and see what that does. Change a bunch of things at once and then we won't know what screwed it up. But yeah, I was changing her scale before, not moving her around. Scale is not the same as translation. Okay, so we're getting there. We're getting closer. She's got a weird face. Probably a little bit larger. She's centered this way. It's probably good. For now, that's okay. I'm gonna bump this up to 350. It gives us a starting point. And then what else do we want? We are going to want on the side, we're going to want some lemur stuff. So let's get that in here. Probably these should be their own separate classes, but this will get us partway there. Actually, I don't want to do this here. How do I... So there's some magic I do here where I get the preferred size and I use the GUI size. So let's just steal the code, cut and paste coding at its finest. So before we get too far though, let me go ahead and make these containers. Selection equals new container. You get used to this after a while. That's the other thing I need. So element ID. So we're going to make a new container. It's going to be, oops, a window. I think that's the way I did it. These actually might be separate. Element ID window, yeah. So that's the style. That's to give it its styling, which will be automatically give it these backgrounds like this. And then if we add a label, child new label, clothing selector, let's call it the selector, and give that new element ID window title. These are things that I have in my styling to automatically set them up. Okay, so let's do this. Oh wait. So wearing. Okay, so we'll set those just to get them on the board. Okay, so we get the size of the GUI, and let's say we want the minimum width, that's fine. So then we get the selection, preferred size, that's the size it wants to be. We make sure it's at least 300, and then we set its preferred size to be that. So basically, if its preferred size is smaller than 300, we say no, your preferred size is 300. And then we make X and Y. We're going to be adding windows. We're going to be sort of doing a manual layout, so to speak. So we set Y to be 95% up the top of the screen and X all the way over the side. And then we will, when we set the location, we'll subtract. We'll take the, I don't use X for anything. And that's fine. Before I was using that to keep track, before I was using that to keep track of where I wanted to put, so these guys all line up, but I wanted this panel to be relative to those, so I kept track of X. It's not a bad idea to continue doing that in case I need it later. All right, so yeah, so we set where selection goes, and we add selection to the GUI, and then we do something similar for the wearing. Make sure it's at least minimum width, and then we say wearing, set preferred size, pref. Okay, then we do all of this again, except for this time we're adding wearing. Okay, so we should have two little GUIs that pop up, and I'm going to go ahead and set this up to. So when our state is disabled, that means the player has closed this for some reason. We want to remove these from the GUI so they don't still show up. For those of you who might be JMonkey Engine user or developers who are using JMonkey Engine, that's sort of the typical life cycle. We create stuff on initialize, add them to the scene on enable, and remove them from the scene on disable. And then in cleanup, if you actually have to do any sort of cleanup, we don't. Everything we have is automatically cleaned up, so we're good. And continuing. Okay, I've screwed something up somewhere. Any of you who might see this now. Oh, I never set its location. So preferred. So the wearing was actually off the bottom of the screen. In Mythruna, I'm not Mythruna. In Lemur, the the UI toolkit that I use, that I wrote, that is open source. Anybody can use it. Windows grow down from the upper left, and so when the window's at 0, 0, it's like just off the screen. And so there we go, clothing selector and wearing. And what we'll have in here is like two lists, and in this list you can sort of affect the order And this one you can say, yeah, I want to wear that. Here you can remove it again. So yeah, she's got her arm back like she's ready to swing. She's going to get us. All right, so now we can start thinking about that stuff. And to actually fill these in is going to require, you know, actually connecting to the world. So we won't do that. But let's say I think we'll do. Maybe. Do I ever code under the influence? No, actually, I don't drink or do drugs, and I never have. So, no, definitely not. Okay, so we got a list for clothing designs. You know, I don't disparage others that might. I just don't. Actually, we can maybe be smarter about this. I think I'm like thinking of 20 different things at once here, so we want to change that, change that, change that, change that, change that. Okay, so it's just things start to get overnamed. So this is, oh, I should say this is not hard enough. Let's have a beer. Yeah. Yeah, I need all my brain cells firing at full capacity. So let's say, let's just go ahead and pull in all of the entity system stuff, which I think is where clothing info will come from. For now, we'll let wearing signs, wearing, we'll let clothing info, but we won't actually fill it with anything yet. So to get an idea of what these are going to look like, I don't think we're going to get to, yeah, I've got 7 minutes left. So let's at least make the UIs look like they will. And unfortunately, this is what I meant to do earlier in the week so that we could get to the point where we can connect up the buttons and stuff. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. List box. I think I will so let's say design list. So a version list, if any of you are Java developers, a versioned list is Lemur's version of a list that just has like a version number associated with it. So that when items are added or removed or changed, that version gets incremented, and that lets the the component know that it needs to re-render itself. It's just it's a nice way to avoid the whole listener lists, having to remember to add and remove listeners, because you have these versioned references and they're essentially free, and you don't have to clean them up. Okay, so here we want wearing. Oh, I don't want to do. Yes, that's exactly what I want to do. Wearing list. Okay, so neat. About the versioned lists. Yeah, if you want to read more about it, you can go to, let's see, Lemur. And I talk about why it is like that. Now, in a swing, in a classic user interface, you add listeners to the components you want to listen to, and then when you have to remember to remove them later. But you're not polling all the time. In a game engine, you're drawing 60 frames a second anyway. Everything you do is polling, and so we have this idea of a versioned object, which internally has a version that gets incremented, and so you can create a reference to it like this. Whatever the model in this case is, a text field model is the versioned object that has text in it. So you can create a reference, and then in your code you can say, hey, if that guy updates, do something with his value, his text, right? And so this is essentially a free call because it's just checking to see if your reference version is behind the regular version and setting it to be the same, and then you can do something with that. And because there's no listeners, you don't have to remember to remove them. You don't have any of the associated garbage that's set up that you're potentially creating these really complicated object graphs that never really get freed because this listener actually pulls in the parent and so on and so forth. Essentially, as long as I'm using this reference, the object I'm referring to will still exist, even if like this text field is no longer being used. But as soon as I get rid of this, Java cleans it all up for me. It's just a really convenient way. If you're already polling, this is like the most efficient way to do it. No garbage, no events, none of that garbage, none of that stuff. Anyway, so if that's what you were saying neat about, there's where you can read more about it. And I use that for all kinds of stuff, not just UI stuff. I wish I had put that in its own library because it does kind of frustrate me to have to import, the lemur GUI just to get that stuff. Anyway, so we added this. Let me go ahead and show you how to do button panel. Buttons equals section window dot add child new container. We don't want any kind of styling on this guy, but what we do want is to change the layout to be Y primaries or X primary. So normally in a spring grid layout, Y is the initial thing. So as you add things, it just keeps adding to the bottom. In this case, we want our buttons to automatically add, right? It doesn't really matter. You can force things to add either way, but it just makes adding children here really convenient. And so we don't even really need to. So if I had done action buttons, I wouldn't even need to do this, but add child new button where? Okay, so I didn't really need this layout, but I will in the next one, and I wanted to be able to cut and paste it because I'm lazy like that. So what I can do now, actually, let's do this. And button B, I'm going to reuse these for a lot of things. And so what we'll do is we'll come down here. We'll reuse that for a minute. Yep, this should have been wearing window anyway, so it's good that I noticed that. So what we've done is, for those who are not following along necessarily, come on. Okay, so yeah, so creating this. So we got this window here, which we have, the title and a list, and then we created a new kind of invisible panel under here that we'll add buttons to. And so that's kind of the hierarchy of our GUI. That's my typical pattern. So in here we want to remove is one of our options, and we want to lower and raise, except for the list will be upside down. lower layer, raise layer. And we'll just hope it's obvious. Let's see what that GUI looks like. Did I do all the things right? Okay. Just want to see what the GUI looks like. Get the buttons hooked up to clicky on things. Okay. Pepsi's gone. Live stream must have just about done. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so I'm not sure I like that. But that's the general gist. Yeah, so it's like you click on them, we don't see, don't have the noises. That's what all these exceptions are. We don't have the sounds loaded. So she's still too tall. I'll work that out. And we need to give her her blocks underneath, but that's that's irrelevant. That's like the nice to have stuff. So let's hook up the buttons real quick. I think we can do, let's see. Let's make some where, unwhere, lower. So this is what I was talking about before. If I had made these action buttons, then I wouldn't have even had to keep track of these. I could have said new action button, new call method action where this. I think that's the syntax. I think I have the lemur documentation open. Yep. So this is in the proto stuff. Come on. Call method action. Yeah. Delegate method name. Oh, so I need both. Okay, so normally it'll pick up the method name automatically. This is the name. I mean, it'll pick up the name automatically, but I'll just do this because I can cut and paste it that way. So if we do this, so we say remove, and that's unwhere. Oops. And raise, what did I call them before? I just deleted it. Raise layer, lower layer. Actually, let's do it the other way around. So lower, raise, and let's see, oops. See if that hooked up correctly by adding some logging. Log info where. Oops. So, oops. This is like a quick and easy way to wire up a lemur GUI. The buttons can just call methods directly. Because they're, yeah, anyway, actions are kind of a powerful thing. That I stole from Swing. Yeah, so see now if we click where, we should get, yep, the where. The exception again is because we don't have sounds loaded. Remove is unwhere, lower layer, which means we'll wear it lower, raise layer, etc. I don't know what to call those that is better, but the list here, if you think that she's putting them on in order, you know, her underwear, her pants, her shirt, etc., we want to be able to control that order. And so lowering the layer would actually raise it in here, and that's what I don't like. Maybe previous, no, see, previous and next means something different. Anyway, I'm sorry we didn't really get more to the thing, but hopefully you guys get an idea what I'm doing. Next weekend will be kind of special. That's Labor Day weekend, right? Yep. So that'll be a 4-day weekend for me. We'll do the live stream on Friday as normal, and maybe if I'm feeling super productive, maybe I'll do another one. But But next week and next weekend's going to be the super productive time because I'm trying to wrap this up so you guys can start playing with clothing and putting them on fade. And so I'll be trying to get all this stuff working this weekend. Does anybody have any last minute questions or comments before we go off? I will go ahead and close this. And let's go ahead and put the thanks card up. Thanks for watching. Yeah, definitely like, comment, subscribe, whatever feeds the algorithm. I hope if you guys are working on something that you're more productive than I have been this last week, and that everything is going well for you. And if you're on the Discord, post about what you've been working on, or even tempt me with tales of Baldur's Gate 3. That's fine as well. Otherwise, I guess I will see you guys online. Look in the upper left corner there for the link to download the latest version. And thanks so much for watching. See you guys next time.